Marcus and Priya look like they have it together. Combined income $72,000. Apartment in a decent part of town. Both employed, both paying their bills on time. Right now, they have $6,200 in debt. In 4 years, that number will be $94,000. They won't make a single decision that either of them would call a mistake. The debt didn't come from recklessness. It came from two people making reasonable decisions separately and never adding them up together. We know this because we were Marcus and Priya.
We're going to show you what happens to them at every level, and the exact moment debt stops being a number and starts making decisions your relationship didn't agree to. Because by the time most couples see it, it's already been running their life for years. Level 1, $5,000. The balance that has a name, but no consequence. Marcus and Priya are 26. They just moved in together. Marcus has $6,200 on a card. Priya has $8,400 in student loan payments that started 6 months ago. Combined debt, $14,600. Combined monthly minimums, $310. $310. That's less than their grocery run. It feels like nothing. That feeling is the whole problem.
When Charlie and I were at this level, we didn't have a conversation about debt. We had a conversation about whether we could afford the apartment. Debt wasn't part of that conversation. It should have been the whole conversation.
Here's what $310 a month actually costs. If Marcus and Priya only pay the minimum for the next 4 years, the $6,200 card at 24% interest, they'll pay $2,940 in interest alone. The balance will drop by $800. In 4 years, $800.
And here's the thing about this level that wrecks couples specifically, not individuals, couples. Priya knows the balance on Marcus's card. Marcus doesn't know Priya's exact loan payment. He knows it exists. He doesn't know it went up $40 last month because she missed a payment in October and hasn't told him. She's not hiding it. She just hasn't found the right moment. She's been waiting for the right moment for 6 weeks.
At this level, debt isn't the problem. The silence around it is, and the silence starts here, before either of them has any idea what it's going to cost them later. Level 2, $15,000 to $40,000, the raise that made everything worse. 14 months later, Marcus got promoted, $8,000 raise. They celebrated. They should have. They also, in the same 6 months, replaced the water heater, $1,800 financed, moved to a bigger apartment, $400 more a month. Priya's company switched insurance providers. Her monthly premium went up $190. The raise? After taxes, $5,200. The new fixed costs that same year, $780. Marcus's promotion made them $1,880 further behind in the year he got promoted. Neither of them ran that math. Their combined debt that year, $38,000.
Charlie and I were at this level when we booked a trip to Denver that we genuinely could not afford. Not a crazy trip. For days. Reasonable hotel, we put $1,800 on the card and told each other we'd pay it off next month. We did not pay it off next month. That $1,800 became $2,400 by the time we stopped moving it around.
The trip isn't the problem. What happened before we booked it is, I wanted to go. Rose wasn't sure. She didn't say we can't afford it. She said, let's think about it. I said, we'll be fine. She went quiet. I booked it.
What I knew in that moment, that Charlie didn't. We had $1,100 in checking, $2,100 on the card already, and a car payment due in 11 days. I didn't say any of that, because saying it meant admitting I'd been tracking numbers. Charlie wasn't tracking, and I didn't know how to have that conversation without it turning into something else entirely.
That's the invisible tax at this level, not the interest. The mental load one person carries while the other lives in a slightly more expensive version of reality. They split that unevenly for years before either of them names it. Level 3, $40,000 to $75,000. The conversations that stop happening.
Marcus and Priya are 29.
Combined debt is now $67,000. Monthly minimums, $1,340. That's $16,000 a year. Gone before the month starts. Before rent, before anything.
And here's what nobody tells you about this level. You can feel completely stable and be completely stuck at the same time.
This is the level Charlie and I lived the longest. And the thing I remember most isn't the stress of the number, it's the specific way we stopped talking about certain things. Not fighting, stopping. Charlie's college friend got married in Lisbon. We got the save the date. I looked at it and put it on the fridge. Charlie looked at it and said, "That's going to be something." Neither of us said we weren't going. The card stayed on the fridge for 4 months. We never booked flights. We never had the conversation. It just didn't happen. And we both pretended we hadn't noticed.
At this level, debt doesn't cause arguments. It causes absences, conversations that don't start, plans that never get made, a future that stays permanently theoretical because discussing it out loud means doing math neither person wants to do together.
Debt at this level has a seat at the table. It doesn't say anything, but every decision goes through it first.
Level 4, $75,000 to $120,000, working all year to move the number. Marcus and Priya are 31, combined income $84,000, combined debt $94,000, monthly payments $1,680. This year, they did everything right, made a budget, stuck to it mostly, threw an extra $400 a month at the debt. End of year, they owed $86,200. They paid $20,160 toward the debt. The balance dropped $7,800. The other $12,360 was interest. 12 months of discipline, $7,800 of progress.
That was almost exactly our year. And I remember sitting with those numbers, feeling something I didn't have a word for. Not despair, closer to disbelief. That effort and discipline could produce so little movement.
Here's what that math becomes if they stay the course for 10 years. They'll pay roughly $240 total. The debt will be gone, but $146,000 of that was interest on money they already spent. $146,000. That's a down payment. Gone.
The night I added everything up and got to $91,400. I wrote it on a legal pad, left it on the kitchen table. Charlie was asleep. I didn't wake him. I didn't tell him the next morning. I didn't tell him for 4 days. The legal pad stayed on the table. I didn't hide it. Part of me wanted him to find it before I had to say it out loud.
What Rose didn't know, I'd seen it on day 2. I didn't say anything either. I was waiting for her to bring it up. We were both waiting. The number sat on the table between us for 4 days while we made coffee and watched TV and went to sleep like it wasn't there.
That's what $100,000 does. It's not that you stop talking, it's that you both start waiting for the other person to go first. And sometimes you wait a very long time.
Level 5, $120,000 to $250,000. When the debt decides who you get to be. We haven't lived at this level. We're saying that clearly because the couples who are here deserve to know when someone is talking from their own kitchen table and when they're not. What follows comes from people who described it to us directly.
Marcus and Priya at 34. They bought a house. Priya went back for her master's. Combined debt crossed $190,000. Combined income $101,000 after taxes and debt payments. They have about $3,900 a month for everything else. Groceries, utilities, insurance, kids' activities, car maintenance, everything. $3,900.
The couples we've spoken to at this level describe a feeling they struggle to name. Not broke, not failing, locked. A woman named Dana told us. Her husband Kevin had been miserable at his job. For 2 years, anxious every Sunday night, couldn't sleep before big meetings. She watched it happen and said nothing because Kevin's salary was $94,000. And they needed every dollar. She told us, "I stopped being his partner. I became the reason he couldn't leave." She didn't choose that. The debt chose it for her.
We've heard variations of that story more times than we can count. One person stuck somewhere they hate, the other person knowing it, both of them saying nothing because the math doesn't leave room for the honest conversation. At this level, debt isn't in your bank account, it's in your marriage. It decides who each of you gets to be. Level 6, $250,000 to $600,000, the couple that looks fine.
This is the level that looks the least like a problem from the outside and does the most damage on the inside.
Two people in their late 30s, both in demanding careers, graduate degrees between them, $310,000 in loans, mortgage in a decent school district, combined income around $280. Sounds fine. Run the actual numbers. Between taxes, debt payments, and the mortgage, what they have left to live on is about $2,200 a month. Two high earners, $8,200. That's less than a teacher and a nurse with no debt.
The couples at this level have stopped fighting about money, not because they solved it, because they're too tired.
A couple named Ryan and Claire described their Friday nights like this: get home from work, pour a glass of wine, sit on the couch in the house they couldn't really afford, and watch TV without talking for 2 hours. Not unhappy exactly, not happy, just suspended. Using the last of what they had to get to Saturday.
These aren't people who made bad decisions. These are people the system was built for. Good credit, high income, approved for more than any real life can actually absorb.
In March, Ryan got a recruiter email. Different city, better money, real way out. He kept it for 11 days without telling Claire. He wasn't planning to accept, he just needed to exist for 11 days in a version of his life where escape was possible, where a choice was his alone. After 11 days, he archived it. He told us about it 2 years later. Claire was sitting next to him. It was the first time she heard it.
That's what this level does. It makes a person need a secret just to feel like they have options. Not to leave, just to breathe.
At this level, debt doesn't fight you. It doesn't need to. It just sets the terms and waits for you to live inside them.
Level 7, $600,000 to $1 million, when the number becomes the identity. Two physicians, medical school debt combined, $480,000, home in a high cost of living city. One of them bought into a practice. Total debt before either of them turns 40, north of $1 million. They didn't make mistakes. They followed instructions, medical school, residency, specialty, buy into a practice, buy the house that makes sense for people at their income level. Every step was the correct step. The steps just cost $1 million.
At this level, something shifts that doesn't shift at lower levels. The debt stops being a thing you have. It starts shaping how you see yourselves, what you're allowed to want, what kind of future feels permitted, who each of you still gets to become. One of the accounts I read described a husband who had wanted to leave his field for years. Burnt out, wrong life, he knew it. He stayed 17 more years because the debt needed both their incomes to survive, not because of weakness, because of math. 17 years.
The counselors who work with couples at this level describe the same pattern over and over. It's not the debt that does the most damage. It's the slow disappearance of each person's ability to imagine a life that the debt didn't design.
If you're here, and I know some of you are, this isn't about strategy. Whatever your number is, $91,000 like ours was, or $500,000. Or something you haven't written down yet because writing it down makes it real. That number has been making decisions for your relationship since before you named it. Every couple we've talked to who found a way through at every level started the same way. Not with a plan, with both people finally looking at the same number at the same time. No more waiting for the other one to go first. Debt didn't break those couples. The years of waiting for the other person to say the number first, that's what broke them.
Day 4. I sat down across from Rose with my coffee and I said, "Okay, what do we do?" Not because I was calm, because I'd been looking at that number for 2 days and I'd run out of reasons not to say something.
That conversation didn't fix anything financially. We still had $91,400. We still had years ahead. What it fixed was the years of one of us knowing more than the other was willing to hear. That ended at a kitchen table over a number neither of us had said out loud.
Marcus and Priya still have that conversation ahead of them. Most couples do. For now, one question. What level are you at? Drop the number in the comments. That's it. We read every single one. And if you're watching this at 2 in the morning running numbers you haven't shown your partner yet, you already know what the first step is.